Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football for another Transfer Daily live stream. And what are we going to be talking about in today's live stream? Of course, Rafa Varane, a little bit of Jadon Sancho, a little bit of Camavinga, Manchester United getting a new set piece, staff getting them from Chelsea, new coaches coming into United, in, out, other news, gossip, and more. And of course, I'm giving you my thoughts on the Italy-England game. And look, I'm aware I look a little bit of a mess right now, I won't lie. But I might be a bit hungover from yesterday, so if I'm a bit dead and a bit asleep, I'm sorry. But please hit that like button, subscribe down below, share this video and all of that. And before I get into the Manchester United news, and I will talk about Rafa Varane, and I will talk about some Sancho stuff that Fabrizio Romano said and all of that, I want to talk about England-Italy quickly. And I just want to talk about Saka, Sancho and Rashford. You know, you get people blaming Sancho, Saka and Rashford. I mean, yeah, they missed their penalty. And you get these people like, don't blame Saka, it's Sancho and Rashford's fault. United boys letting us down. And I just want to sit here and I just want to say, Bukayo Saka's 19, never taken a penalty in his whole career. Southgate made him take that penalty and he went, okay, I'll take it. So you can't criticise Saka. He's never taken a penalty in his career and he's taken the most important one in 55 years for England. Most important penalty in England history Saka's taken. Yeah? Why? You've got to blame Southgate for that. Rashford and Sancho have been sat on the bench for 3 hours. They've barely been involved in the tournament. They get subbed on to take a penalty. Like, you've got to get warmed up into the game. A lot of people that get subbed on just for penalties do miss because they don't get a feel of the ball. So as much as you want to blame Sancho, Rashford and Saka, you can't blame them. And I don't know why people are blaming them. And I don't know why people are sending them abuse. You know, okay, you're frustrated they missed their penalties, but don't send them fucking abuse. Like, what is the point? I have to say. Look, because you know what? I blame Southgate for the loss yesterday. Southgate's done a good job getting us to the final. But at the end of the day, when Man United lost on penalties to Villarreal, I did not blame David De Gea. I blamed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because to go to the 11th penalty and to, you know, that's not De Gea's fault. It's not De Gea's fault he missed the penalty. You know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer against Villarreal played for penalties. We lost on penalties. Gareth Southgate, as I said, beat Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He plays for penalties. We lose on penalties. So don't send abuse to Saka, Rashford, Sancho. Don't send abuse to fucking anyone. But don't blame Saka, Rashford and Sancho. I'm not saying blame Southgate, but Southgate played for penalties because I just want to say this. We went 2-0 up thanks to the beautiful Luke Shaw, Shabbat Carlos, best left back in the world. But we went 1-0 up to Luke Shaw, and as soon as we went 1-0 up, what did we create? We sat back, we parked the bus, especially in the second half. We sat back, we parked the bus, we invited pressure. We invited way too much pressure. They equalised. Then we played for penalties. We didn't look like a team that wanted to go and win it. Italy looked like a team that wanted to go and win it. So you can be as angry as you want, but you know what? Pickford saved 2 penalties. Yes, we missed 3 penalties, but Southgate played for penalties. So when you're angry at De Gea for missing in the Europa League final, Ole paid for penalties. You don't blame the penalty takers because they had the guts to get up and take the penalty. You've got to think Raheem Sterling took penalties in Carabao Cup finals, but Saka's taken that fifth penalty. You know, I just wanted to say that. Because there's a lot of hate on social media and all of that. But let's talk about Manchester United. Let's talk about the Manchester United transfer news and nothing of the Euros. We'll talk about that later. But any questions for me, please do pop them down below in the live chat. Hit that like button, subscribe down below. But let's talk about the Manchester United news. So Fabrizio Romano came out on Twitch today and said Manchester United will do something special for Jadon Sancho's announcement video in the coming days. So obviously Sancho is a Manchester United player, but because he's been at the Euros, Man United haven't been able to launch a picture of Sancho in the new kit and do that announcement video, but that's coming in the next few days, according to Fabrizio Romano. So the Sancho announcement is coming very, very soon, which is big, interesting news. And just in from Samuel Luckhurst. Now, obviously, if it comes from the Manchester Evening News, if it comes from any British journalist, you've always got to remember, is this United PR spin? But Samuel Luckhurst said that Manchester United are close to agreeing personal terms with Rafa Varane as they continue to make progress on the transfer for the Real Madrid defender. Now, sources say that we've already agreed personal terms. Some sources say personal terms won't be an issue. Fabrizio Romano says personal terms won't be an issue. So, Man United agreeing personal terms with Varane is nothing new. Fabrizio Romano said it won't be an issue, but these English journalists that, you know, get a bit of PR spin from Man United are saying, you know, we're very, very close to agreeing terms with Varane and all that. But what Fabrizio Romano had to say, and we know that Fabrizio Romano is the Don of transfers when it comes to transfer news, but what Fabrizio Romano had to say is Rafa Varane's personal terms are not a problem with Manchester United. You know, that's not a problem, personal terms, all of that. So he's going to agree personal terms no matter what. So even though there's news saying he's agreed personal terms, it's not a problem. It's kind of the same thing. Manchester United are always in contact with Varane's agents, according to Fabrizio Romano. He said United are waiting once again for Real Madrid's price tags. Madrid are wanting to try and convince Varane to stay, but it's going to be really difficult. So what Fabrizio Romano is saying, that Fabrizio Romano is the most reliable guy out there when it comes to transfers, and he said personal terms are not an issue, basically, which basically means, you know, they'll be done if the deal is going to happen. He said United keep still in contact with Varane. We're in contact with Varane's agents and all of that. And he said that United are waiting for Real Madrid's price tag. Madrid will want to convince Varane to stay, but that's going to be hard. So I think Fabrizio Romano is saying, look, Madrid want Varane to stay, but they've got to convince him to stay, and he thinks that's hard. He thinks that Varane is edging towards Manchester United. So even if some journalists are saying that Varane doesn't want Man United, he wants to stay, Fabrizio Romano, the most reliable journalist out there, is saying that Varane is going to be hard to keep Varane at Real Madrid. He wants to leave. And the situation is, and I'll say this again and again and again, I've said it before on my channel, Rafael Varane is on holiday. He returns to Real Madrid, I think, tomorrow maybe. He'll sit down with Ancelotti. He'll officially tell Ancelotti to his face if he wants to stay, if he wants to leave. The only way they're going to get Varane to stay is offering him ridiculous wages. They want to get Mbappe in August. They would have to sell Varane again off the wage bill to get Mbappe in. Remember that. The only way Varane stays is they offer him ridiculous wages, or he generally has no interest in Man United. Fabrizio Romano said he does have an interest in Man United. Personal terms aren't an issue, so he does have an interest in United. So Varane comes back. Once Varane confirms to Carlo Ancelotti and to Real Madrid that he wants to leave, Real Madrid will put a price tag on him and say, Man United, you can have him for 50, 60 million pounds. Now, Fabrizio Romano said it'll be around the 50 million pound mark. And I think that's the situation. You know, we're in contact with Varane. Personal terms aren't an issue. The deal is close and the agreement is close. However, you know, us and Real Madrid have got to agree on a price, and Real Madrid won't give us a price until they've got a final answer from Varane. Because Varane said he's wanted to leave, his agent said he's wanted to leave, but Real Madrid want to sit down with Varane once he's back from his holidays and just get a final answer from him. I think that is the situation going on with Rafael Varane. Now, Sky Sports also talked about the situation. Sky Sports said we're continuing talks with Varane. Sky Sports obviously get information from the club, you know, English media, PR spin. Sky Sports say that Manchester United continue talks with representatives of Real Madrid defender Rafael Varane over personal terms. So Sky Sports, an English source, is saying we're going to talk with Varane for personal terms. Now, I think it's interesting that the English source, obviously Fabrizio Romano has agreed personal terms wouldn't be an issue weeks ago, so it's almost not new news. But the fact that an English sources and lots of English sources are saying we're going for personal terms means the club has told them that. The club has told them that, so maybe part of the PR spin. But United have been given permission to speak with Varane's camps. If terms can be agreed, and Fabrizio Romano said they will be agreed, it won't be a problem. United are expected to open talks with Real Madrid over a fee. So the situation is we just need to agree terms with Real Madrid. The situation is we just need to agree terms with Rafael Varane, which won't be an issue, as Fabrizio Romano says, and then we can discuss with Real Madrid what the fee would be. I think Real Madrid are waiting for an answer from Varane until they discuss what the fee would be. Sky Sports says it's thought that Varane would be open to a move to Manchester United if the agreement can be reached. However, Sky Sports do also say that Man United are cautious as they don't want to repeat what happened with Sergio Ramos in 2015. United will give an encouragement Ramos would come to Old Trafford only for the player to sign a new contract at the Bernabeu, which makes sense. There's always the small chance that is Rafael Varane using us, but you've got to remember Spanish sources, Fabrizio Romano, a lot of tier 1 sources are saying like he generally wants to leave. He wants a new challenge because he has won everything at Real Madrid, so why would, you know, he would probably come to the Premier League. The Premier League is the best league in the world, you've got to remember that. And ABC Deportes, a Spanish source, said regarding Rafael Varane, he wants to join Manchester United, he would like to try the Premier League. And, you know, a lot of Spanish sources saying he wants to join the Premier League, which I think is interesting. And Fabrizio Romano obviously said he's open to a move to Manchester United. Personal terms won't be an issue. And as I said, Sky Sports have kept saying that Man United have been given permission to talk to Rafael Varane. You know, if Real Madrid really thought Varane was going to stay and sign a new contract, they wouldn't give us permission to talk to him. Like, if Real Madrid really thought Varane was going to stay in sign a new contract, they wouldn't give us permission to talk to him. And Sky Sports are saying we're literally negotiating with Varane, trying to get personal terms done. You know, the Manchester Evening News, Samuel Lutka says personal terms were close to being done. We got told a couple of weeks ago personal terms were unofficially done, and we know from Romano personal terms won't be an issue. So I think personal terms could be officially done in the next 2 days. And I think once personal terms are officially done, you know, then we'll go on with Real Madrid to make a bid on him. You know, I think if we officially agree personal terms with Rafael Varane, then we should get him. Because if Rafael Varane agrees to join us, that means Real Madrid are like, shit, we've got to sell him. He generally wants to leave, you know. Yes, we agreed personal terms with Sancho last summer, we didn't get him, but that's because Sancho had 3 years left and he was 120 million. Varane has 1 year left. If he agrees personal terms with another club, Real Madrid will know they will lose him on a free if they don't sell him this summer. And Real Madrid want Mbappe. So if he agrees personal terms with us officially, and as Fabrizio Romano said, it won't be an issue, then Real Madrid will have to sell him to us. And I think it will literally be personal terms to maybe be officially done in the next few days, maybe agreement officially done between Man United and Varane in the next few days. And I think once that is done, Real Madrid have to put a price tag on him. And I think Man United will go in for a bid. And as I said, I'm 75% sure we'll get Varane. I'm 75-25 on Varane coming to Manchester United. That's my honest thoughts on it. However, even more interesting news, now Simon Stone, we know Simon Stone is a very, very reliable journalist. And whenever Man United are close to a player, Simon Stone has this thing for always saying something negative. Simon Stone is a very, very reliable journalist, but what United do is they get a lot of talk about them signing a player, and then Man United are like, let's make the fans believe we're not going to get this player, so then we eventually sign him. It's more surprise. And they use Simon Stone for this because whenever we're really, really close to getting a player, I swear to God, Simon Stone will be like, there's nothing in it, and then a week later we'll sign him, and Simon Stone will announce we sign him because he's a reliable journalist. But what Simon Stone says is Varane has no contract issues at Real Madrid, and while it does seem he is open to joining Manchester United, it would mean Real Madrid sanctioning the exit of both their senior centre-backs in a single summer. What Simon Stone says is like he thinks it's unlikely that they would lose Varane and Ramos in the same summer, which is fair enough, and a bit of negative talk hinting that maybe we'll sign them. But you've got to remember, Varane has 1 year left on this deal. They will lose him for a free, or they have to sell him this summer, and you want money for him. You'd want money for him, 100%, and all of that. I'm going to answer a few questions in the live chat, so please, any questions for me, please do pop them down below in the live chat. I'm just going to close my window because it's raining outside, and I don't want rain to come in, so let me just close my window there. But yeah, pop any questions for me down below and all of that. I want to actually talk about this. Osman says, after the loss, I am clueless. I feel as though coaches could not find optimal time for subs at 1-0, and with so much dominations decides to make a positive sub and win. Yeah, I think, look, talking of the England game again, and I know no one really wants to talk about the England because we've lost, but I think if anything, the England game, you have to put it on Southgate. I think it's like Ollie in the Europa League final. I always said Southgate's a BTEC Ollie. The man management to play for penalties was their fault. You've got to remember, Ollie played for penalties in the Europa League final, Southgate played for penalties. So blame the penalty takers all you want, but the manager, the subs were quite negative until the last minute. Like, he could have put Sancho and Rashford on 10 minutes earlier. Like, realistically, fair play to Bukayo Saka, but at the end of the day, Foden, Rashford, and Sancho should be getting more minutes than Bukayo Saka in an international tournament because they are a level ahead of him. I think you have to blame the manager and all of that. I honestly don't want to put it on the players. Congrats to Southgate for getting us to a final, but, for Saka to take that fifth penalty when apparently Grealish said that he wanted to take it, that is on the manager, not trusting Grealish. And look, I've always said, look, fair play to Southgate getting us to a final, but I have been Southgate out at the beginning of the tournament, and I'll be Southgate out at the end of the tournament. Yes, he got us to a final, but I look at all the attacking talent we have, I look at the subs he makes, I look at the man management in games, and I just think you're BTEC Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which is probably hypocritical because I'm Ollie in. But maybe I just have a Man United bias. But yeah, it's just honestly. Paul Pogba has tweeted and Instagrammed in support of Rashford, Sancho, and Saka, saying that he's proud of you. You win some, you lose some. You took the courage to take penalties and showed your worth to help your country reach the final. We cannot tolerate or stand racism anymore, and we never will stop combating it. You boys should hold your heads high and be proud of your confidence. You're an example of the beautiful game. Never forget that. Be proud of yourself. The world of football is proud of you. So very, very good Instagram post there from Paul Pogba, supporting them and all that, which is what we like to see and all of that. A news report coming out from Spain also said that Carlo Ancelotti will not be a deciding factor for Rafael Varane to stay at Real Madrid. Everything indicates that Varane wants to play for Manchester United. So more Spanish sources once again saying that everything is indicating Varane wants to play for Manchester United. And as we know, personal terms won't be an issue between Varane and Manchester United. Please do slap that like button, subscribe down below, and all of that. We are on the road to 16,000 subscribers now, by the way, guys, because we hit 15,000 subscribers on Saturday. So a big thanks to everyone that did subscribe on the Saturday show. What's your top four this season? I mean, I'm not going to put it in any order to after the transfer window, but Man U, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, I think will be the top four, but I can't put it in an order just yet. Anto says, you think it's easy to sign Real Madrid player? I don't think it's easy. Varane will probably stay. I mean, there's a possibility Varane will stay. I try and be a positive fan. I try and be optimistic. I try and look at the positives in all the stories, but there's obviously a chance Varane stays. Well, I am 75 Varane comes to Man United, 25 Varane stays, if you want my honest opinion. Cripsy says he's on the last year of his contract and they just lost Ramos on a free. You think Madrid are dumb. They don't want to lose Varane on a free, so they will have to sell him. They want Mbappe. It's pretty clear Real Madrid want Mbappe. So getting Ramos off the wage bill and getting 50 million for Ramos makes it a lot easier for them to get Mbappe with the financial problems that they do have and all of that. I'm going to answer a few questions. So any questions for me, please do put them down below in the live chat and all of that. I'm just scrolling down the live chat and all of that. Cripsy says, you want Jules Koundé, a 5'10" centre-back over Varane after we've been terrible at set pieces. Wow, let's actually, talking of set pieces, United have actually signed a new set piece coach. I'm a bit hungover today, so when I'm talking, I keep stuttering my words and I'm not making sense because I'm not fully awake. So I do apologise. This probably isn't the best live stream I've done in terms of focus and stuff. But official, Manchester United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has revealed that Eric Ramsey, who has joined the first team coaching setup. The former Chelsea coach will work one-on-one with individual players and also take ownership over training on side and set-piece plays. So United signed a set-piece coach from Chelsea. Now, to go alongside that with one of the youngest cores in world football, Manchester United now have two of the brightest talents in British coaching in Kieran McKenna, 35, and Eric Ramsey, 29, whilst Justin Cochran, 39, will likely have route to the first team if he impresses. So, no, we do criticise the coaching at Manchester United because you've got to remember, Ole's the manager. He picks who plays and he manages the game, but he doesn't do the coaching, In a weird way, the poor defensive coaching and the poor set-piece coaching isn't really on Ole, it's the coaches. And, our biggest issue, other than not having a DM, I think was set pieces last season. And to get a set-piece coach in, it's a coach. It's not a player that's going to play for us, but we don't have a proper set-piece coach. We were awful at set-pieces. I don't think people realise that. Us signing a set-piece coach from Chelsea as well, could have a massive impact on us because we're very, very poor at set-piece work. The former Chelsea coach will work one-on-one with players and work on set plays. And now Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said regarding signing Eric Ramsey, he said that we've been fortunate enough to convince Eric Ramsey to come join the best club in the world and country. He's a very highly rated coach who's going to be working with individuals and in charge of set plays as well. We're excited. He's young, fresh, and with new ideas. And initiative coach we've known before, Kieran McKenna knows him well from Loughborough, so we're really pleased with that. I can't talk today. It's the hangover from the game. But we've signed a very, very good coach from Chelsea, and I think that's going to have a big impact on Manchester United going into the future. Thoughts on Chelsea preparing a bid for Haaland? Yeah, Chelsea are preparing a bid for Erling Haaland. It's going to be really hard for them to sign him because we've got Sancho. But you know what? Fair play to Chelsea if they pull it off. They haven't really done anything this transfer window. And if Roman Abramovich wants Erling Haaland, Roman Abramovich will get Erling Haaland. You know what Roman Abramovich is like. Like, Dortmund are going to lose him for 60 million in a year's time. If Chelsea do something ridiculous and offer 150 million, I think Dortmund will be like, that's 90 million more. We wait a year, we lose 60 mil. So you've got to remember that. I'm just taking a quick drink of water. Any questions for me? Please do pop them down below in the live chat. Fabrizio Romano was on Twitch earlier today and he said that Manchester United are preparing to start new contract talks with Luke Shaw. United are working on it. It will take some weeks. United are in the process of offering Luke Shaw a new proposal, which I'm sure wouldn't be an issue. So sort of the latest news coming in today regarding Manchester United is we're working on a Luke Shaw new contract. We're working on the Bruno new contract. Of course, we're trying to convince Paul Pogba to stay, and we will be talking about the Paul Pogba Camavinga situation later in the video. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, Varane wants Manchester United. Simon Stone says something negative, which means a good thing. Personal terms isn't an issue. Personal terms nearly agreed. That is sort of the latest coming in today. And obviously, England did lose on penalties, which, it's very, very depressing. But, that is sort of the latest situation going on. Any news on Camavinga, Alice, says Daniel Fleming. Now, the Camavinga to Manchester United situation has gone a bit quiet, but I'm going to say this time and time again. Camavinga will leave Rennes this summer, and he will leave for about £30 million because Rennes will rather take some money than wait a year and lose him for nothing. Now, Real Madrid, Manchester United, and PSG all want Camavinga, but Real Madrid are way more focused on Mbappe. So it's really between Manchester United and PSG to sign Edouard Camavinga. Now, Camavinga reportedly preferred PSG. It's in his own country and all of that. However, PSG would rather sign Paul Pogba than Edouard Camavinga. PSG are hoping to get Paul Pogba. And the situation is Paul Pogba prefers to move to PSG, and PSG will be willing to pay up to £60 million for Paul Pogba. I think the situation with Camavinga is it's between us and PSG to sign Camavinga. United clearly want Camavinga. Personal terms won't be an issue. Camavinga would like to join Manchester United, but we've got to convince Camavinga to join us and not Real Madrid and not PSG. Yes, Camavinga likes the idea of joining Manchester United. Yes, Camavinga is a #1 Man United midfield priority, but there's competition. We've got to beat that competition for Camavinga. And I think, this week's going to be the week of Varane. You've got to remember, this is going to be the week where the Varane links, I think, get really, really heavy. I think the Varane deal could be done in the next week or two. I think, this is in the next few days, it wouldn't surprise me if Fabrizio Romano said that personal terms between Manchester United and Varane officially agreed. I think this is the week where the Varane news really heats up, but I think give it a week or two, and I think the Camavinga stories will really massively heat up as well. Brain Sample's an idiot because he just said Sancho cost England a trophy. He's a fraud. How does Sancho cost England a trophy when Rashford missed? when Saka missed. You know, when Southgate told Saka to take the last penalty and not Grealish and Sterling. You can't blame one player. Yeah, like the penalty, we lost on penalties, but we played for penalties. We went 1-0 up, and as soon as we went 1-0 up, we did fuck all. Let's be honest. Can you name me a good shot on target we had that didn't come from a set piece after we went 1-0 up? Because I fucking can't. You know, it's just stupid saying it's Sancho, Rashford's or Saka's fault. It's not their fault because they had the fucking courage to take a penalty. Yes, they missed a penalty. Yes, they might have let Pickford down. But we play for penalties, and if it's anyone's fault, it's the manager. And I'm Southgate out, but I have to say, I give respect to Southgate for getting us to a final. Do I think he's the best manager? No. Do I think Southgate's the most exciting manager? No. Do I think you know, some players should be playing more like Grealish? Of course. You know, is Southgate a Vita Collie in my opinion? Yes, but let's not go blaming Sancho or blaming Saka or blaming Rashford. It's just fucking stupid. Like, Sancho and Rashford barely played all tournament, and you're subbing them on for the most important penalty ever when they've barely touched the ball and they've sat down for 3 hours. You're putting a 19-year-old who's never taken a penalty before on the last penalty ahead of Sterling. Ahead of Grealish. I think it's fucking stupid if you want my honest opinion. I think it's stupid. Now, Kane says, Alice, some of the abuse directed at Sancho and Rashford and Saka for missing their penalty is bang out of order, and I completely agree. It's just idiots. It's just idiots without a brain. It literally is, because you've got to remember, the thing that makes me laugh is, you know, these footballers, you could think Sancho, Rashford and Saka. Sancho, Rashford and Saka are going to make more money in a week than I'm ever going to make in a year. You know, they're my age. You know, I'm literally a year younger than Sancho. You know, they're young lads. They're 19, 21, 23. Look at how much they've achieved. You know, I'm 20 and I'm sat on my arse right now. And the funny thing is, most of the people sending abuse to Saka, Rashford and Sancho are 40-year-old keyboard warriors or 14-year-old kids that are not even going to make anywhere near the amount of money they've made, not going to be anywhere near as successful as they are. You know, these guys, it's not about money. It's not about success. You know what I mean? But these guys have achieved so much. Like, Rashford's done so much politically. You know, Sancho's really helped areas in London. Saka helps his family, and he's trying to help areas in London. Like, educated, they're good people. And you'll get people that aren't educated, because racism is just a lack of education. It just is a lack of education. Like, having a go at someone because of the colour of the skin, like, it doesn't make them any difference. It's a lack of education. You just get idiots who will just shout racism abuse because they don't have a brain. They're jealous that they're more successful than they're ever going to be. These footballers are more successful than I'm ever going to be. They're more successful than anyone commenting shit's ever going to be. They've got more of a brain than anyone commenting shit's ever going to be. And I just think, what is the fucking point? Why? What does going on Instagram and commenting something nasty do for you? Because if I went on Twitter and I tweeted, fuck you, Marcus Rashford, I'm not going to feel any better about us losing. So why do it? And I wouldn't tweet, fuck you, Marcus Rashford, because I love Marcus Rashford, but I mean, and they're not even tweeting F you, Marcus Rashford. They're tweeting worse things. But what is the point? I don't get it. I don't get why people do it. I just think it's just lack of education. I think it's just a lack of education, and it just really annoys me. It really annoys me to see idiots like that and all that. You know. Steve FC says, on another note, what is the best CDM Man United can get? Well, for me, if we're talking any CDM, indeedy, Rice, obviously, Camavinga and Rice are the two CDMs we've been linked to the most. Now, I think Basuma's, I think if we're thinking about realistically, because I don't think, even though they got Suma Leicester, I don't think United will get Ndidi. Rice and Camavinga are the two we've been linked to the most, okay? Camavinga is the most realistic in terms of affordability and all that. If Pogba goes, Rice becomes quite realistic. If Pogba stays, we're not getting Declan Rice. If Pogba leaves, Rice is an option. But I think, you know what, you've got James Garner and we've got Daniel James. Now, Brighton want Daniel James and we want James Garner to go on loan in the Premier League. Basuma will give you Daniel James some money and James Garner on loan for Basuma. That's a good deal we can do. I think he would really complement Fred. You know, hopefully Paul Pogba stays, because I think he'd really complement Pogba. So I think the best CDM for me we could sign is Ndidi. But I think if you're thinking more realistic, Basuma. I think Basuma and Camavinga in value for money, Declan Rice and impact, but Declan Rice only if Pogba stays, because you've got Declan Rice, Pogba, Bruno, which would be fantastic. I think that would be my honest opinion. I don't know. What CDM would you like Manchester United to sign? Any questions? You know, any questions for me? Do pop them down below in the live chat. And like, if there's a CDM that you would want Manchester United to sign, please do let me know down below. Please do let me know down below. Why isn't somebody like Chris Smalling a potential centre-back for United? He's out on loan at Roma. He's not on loan at Roma anymore. We sold him on the permanent last summer for about 18 million quid, I believe. Thoughts on United transfer Heaton? I mean, look, I thought Heaton was a Lee Grant replacement. We signed Heaton and Lee Grant staying. So Romero's gone. Heaton's a Romero replacement. Heaton is a Romero replacement. I think that's the situation with Heaton. Is it an interesting signing? No. Do I give a fuck that we signed Heaton? No. But it's a player, so whatever. That's my honest opinion on the Heaton signing. I could not care, guys. It's just one of them signs. Does anyone care? But yeah, thanks for the comment and all of that. What if we sell Lindelof for Anderson? He's a better centre-back. I mean, we're not going to sell Lindelof. If the centre-back's going to go, it's Tuanzebe on loan, Phil Jones fucking hopefully, or Eric Bailly and all of that. What is the update on Varane? I did talk about Varane earlier. The Manchester Evening News and Sky Sports are saying we're in contact with Real Madrid. We're very, very close to agreeing personal terms. Romano said personal terms won't be an issue. Every source is indicating that Varane wants to leave Real Madrid, but Man United are waiting to see how much Varane will cost. So I think the situation is, if United can agree personal terms officially, because they're unofficially agreed, if Man United can officially agree personal terms with Real Madrid, and Romano said that wouldn't be an issue, Romano said United will pay the wages Varane wants. If United can find an agreement with Rafa Varane, that sends a hint to Real Madrid that they have to sell him, and we'll wait for the price Real Madrid put on him, then we'll pay him. So I think the situation with Varane, I think this is the week for Varane updates. I think this is the week where the Varane situation is going to heat up a lot. This is the week for Varane updates. You know, I think something will happen in the next 2 weeks with Varane, and I think, you know, some people think he's using us, and, you know, you have every right to believe Varane's using us because Ramos used us, but I try and be positive and optimistic as a fan. There's obviously a chance he's using us, but I'm feeling more 75% that we are going to get Varane in terms of the Varane situation. This guy says, can Man United win a trophy? If yes, which one? Hopefully the Premier League or Champions League. If I was going to be realistic, I'd put like an FA Cup on us or a Carabao Cup, to be fair. Obviously not the Super Cup because we don't want to fucking Europa League, stupid idiots. And all of that. Varane will come. England, such a banter country we are. England don't deserve to win after defending for 118 minutes. Southgate at full. And you know what? I agree with that. It's not about the penalties. We defended for 118 minutes, guys. Like that. At the end of the day, that is on Southgate. I'm actually going to look at the stats. England versus Italy. I'm going to look at the stats here. But after the Luke Shaw situation, after the Luke Shaw goal, I don't really remember a shot on target we had, unless we're talking about set pieces. Because if we look at the whole game, okay, so how much possession did we have? So Italy versus England. So Italy had 65% possession, 65% possession. Italy had 19 shots to our 6 shots. And we only had 2 shots on target, and one of them was the goal. Italy had 6 shots on target, we had 2 shots on target, and one of them was the goal. Italy missed 2 big chances. Italy created 3 big chances, we created 1, that was the goal. Other than the goal, we didn't create a single big chance. Other than the goal. Mason Mount was a ghost. And you know what? I like Mason Mount. I think he's a good player. But what the fuck has he done this tournament? What the fuck has Mason Mount done this tournament? And the thing that frustrates me is people will talk about Bruno ghosting, but they don't realise that Mason Mount, when he plays with 2 DMs deep and Calvin Phillips and Rice behind him, is ghosting. Mason Mount has Rice and Phillips behind him playing really deep. Mason Mount is ghosting in these big games. But they won't talk about it because he's English, he's the wonder boy. Bruno ghosts in big games because he has Mukfred behind him. Having Mukfred behind you is worse than having Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice behind you. And you're wondering why all our attackers are ghosting in these big games. Because they can't get the ball because you're playing with a back 5 or a back 4 with 2 CDMs. So, all these people that say Bruno ghosts in big games, well, Mason Mount didn't show up in any of England's big games. Let's be honest, because, Ukraine was his best game. Because when you play that defensive, it's so hard for the attack to get involved. It always frustrates me. It's that naivety that Southgate does play a very similar way to Ollie. And Bruno is one of the few players in world football. You can call Bruno overrated all you want, but Bruno is one of the few players in world football that can play in such a negative defensive system but get goals and assists even if he has a bad game. He can create a goal. Like Bruno can create a goal. Do you think really Varane to United? I think there's a possibility. Obviously, you've got to be realistic. But I actually believe that we will get Varane, if you want my honest opinion. I'm staying positive on the Varane situation and all of that. You're right, we lost because we sat back. That's exactly why we lost. I'm 53 and a millionaire. Right, send us a super chat. I'm only joking. But yeah, either 40-year-old and frustrated or 12-year-old and spoiled. Yeah, and lack of educated, all of those commenting. I agree. Declan Rice overrated. I thought Declan Rice was one of our best players, but he took off Declan Rice instead of Calvin Phillips. I guess Calvin Phillips has the legs more, but I thought Declan Rice was one of our better players in the final, actually. I think he was our best player until he got subbed off. I think Declan Rice, Luke Shaw, Maguire, Stones and Walker didn't put a foot wrong. The attackers didn't show up in the final, but we set up to defend. So you can say Kane didn't show up in the final. You can say Sterling did fuck all. Mount did fuck all. You can say when Saka come on, what the fuck did he do? He just got strangled. But at the end of the day, all the attackers were set up to fail because Southgate set up so defensively. Defence did well, but the attack was bad. And that's, a lot of Man United's big games, the attack is poor because we're set up so defensively. And people will say, attackers are trash because they can't perform in big games. Sometimes it's not Bruno's fault that he can't perform every big game when he sets up that defensively with Fred behind. Probably the same with Mount, Kane, Sterling, Saka, because none of them are good in the final. But they can play in big games. If we had Henderson at midfield earlier and we played a 4-3-3 and we had four at the back for longer, I'm sure Saka, Kane, Rashford, Grealish, any player that went on would have had a better game. Honestly, I do. Camavinga isn't a CDM. I did talk about that. Camavinga isn't like a CDM. He's more of a pivot CDM. He can't hold on his own like Declan Rice, but he could do a better job in the pivot than McTominay and Fred, I believe, in terms of a defensive perspective. Maybe not going forward, but in terms of a defensive perspective. Nick Morris says that Brighton want Dan James, so use them to get Basuma. I agree, that's what I would do. No, Kane says, Alice, has Fabrizio Romano given any updates on Varane and Camavinga joining United? That all Fabrizio Romano's really had to say is that, United want Varane, which we know. United are waiting to see what Real Madrid do, what price Real Madrid put on Varane. Personal terms won't be an issue. I think that's what Romano says. We want Varane, we're going to go for Varane. Personal terms won't be an issue. According to Build, Chelsea would have to sell 3 players to get Erling Haaland in, and these 3 players could be Hudson-Odoi, Tammy Abraham, and Hakim Ziyech, which would be very, very interesting. I think Hudson-Odoi would be a big miss. I think there's a good player in Hudson-Odoi, but this isn't the Chelsea news show. Of course, this isn't the Chelsea news show. Luke Shaw was probably England's best player in the Euros and all that. Southampton did a nice tweet to say that Luke Shaw had made them really, really proud. He'd been absolutely brilliant. Paul Pogba, Maguire, and Luke Shaw all getting the team of the tournament for the Euros as well. Paul Pogba, Luke Shaw, and Maguire had fantastic Euros, and let's just hope we can, keep them and all of that. This Lorenzo Napoli deal, is it okay? Romano said there's nothing in that deal and all of that. There's been no bid for Varane. There's been no bid for Varane as of yet. United could put in a bid this week, but, United will put in a bid when they know Real Madrid's price tag. I think Real Madrid is serious about getting Varane. Like, we're very serious about getting Varane. We've been in for him for a while. We've been linked to Varane for a while. I think the situation is once Man United can get personal terms officially agreed with Varane and they know Real Madrid's price tag, they'll put in a bid, because they're not going to put in a bid if they don't know Real Madrid's price tag. And Real Madrid won't put a price tag on Varane until they know right from Varane that he's officially leaving. They know from that Varane wants to leave, but they've not sat down with Varane since before the Euros. They want an answer from him. He's been on holiday, he's been at the Euros. So I think, it's all, I think once United have a price tag, they will put in a bid for Varane. And all of that. Imagine being a City fan says Varane will definitely come. 95%. He's at 95%. I'm at 75% for Varane to come, but I like your optimism. He's at 95% for Varane to join Manchester United and all of that. PSG, Alice, Varane, next stop. Fabrizio Romano said that there's no way Varane will go to PSG. It's impossible because PSG have got Ramos, and I'm going to believe Fabrizio Romano over a couple of English sources. So I think PSG is a big problem in the race for Camavinga. I think PSG could, make it harder for us to get a Camavinga. But I think in terms of Varane, PSG is an issue. They got Ramos. If you just joined the live stream, please do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football. I do daily Manchester United content. So if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news throughout the transfer window, please do subscribe down below. Pre-season starts in less than a week's time. So I'll be doing watch-alongs and match reactions for pre-season, telling you what Jadon Sancho looks like on pre-season, how he's doing. So please do subscribe for match reactions, match reviews, pre-season watch-alongs, and also daily Manchester United transfer news updates. If we sign a player, I'll be live to update you. So if we sign Rafael Varane, I'll be live. When personal terms are officially agreed, because they're unofficially agreed, I will be live. When we're very, very close to signing a player, I'll be live. So any relevant news regarding players joining Manchester United, I will be live. So to stay up to date with that, please do subscribe, because every like, sub, share, it means a lot. It means a lot and all of that. Italy had 19 shots. Italy had 19 shots. They were the better team, to be fair. We just scored a goal and sat back and defended. You have to say Italy were a better team and all of that. Any questions for me, keep popping them down below in the live chat. Foden and KDB escaped criticism because they played for Manchester City. I agree. I mean, you want my honest opinion? Foden played more minutes than Rashford and Sancho, and he did nothing. You could say Sancho and Rashford did nothing at the Euros. I thought Sancho had a good game versus Ukraine. You could say Sancho and Rashford did nothing at the Euros, and they will say Sancho and Rashford did nothing at the Euros, but Foden got more opportunity, more minutes than them, and other than hitting the post in the Croatia game, what the fuck did Phil Foden do? But he's protected, Ruben Diaz is completely protected, Bruno's a flop because he can't do it at international level, but Ruben Diaz, they still say, is better than Van Dijk. Bernardo Silva was worse than Bruno Fernandes for Portugal, Bruno Fernandes was Portugal's top chance creator, but Bruno apparently was worse than Bernardo Silva because Bernardo Silva doesn't play for a big club, so he doesn't get attention. I completely agree. Like, if City players are bad, they get 10 times more protection than if Man United players are bad. Because if you look at it, it's United agenda. You know, Man United are kind of like England in the way that everyone hates England. You know, when we beat Denmark, you know, we did deserve to beat Denmark. We were the better team. Italy were the better team against us, and they deserved to win. But when we beat Denmark, yes, the penalty was soft. But the ref didn't give a penalty earlier on Kane. And yes, that wasn't a penalty in Sterling. But people were hating on the fact that England had scored a penalty that was unfair. But they won't talk about, you know, the Lampard goal. They won't talk about the hand of God. They won't talk about the dodgy sendings off to Beckham and Rooney. You know, and that's what it's like supporting Man United. You know, you get one unfair penalty and all the rival fans will talk about the one bad performance Bruno put in rather than the 10 good performance Bruno puts in. They'll talk about the one unfair penalty Manchester United got instead of the 10 decisions that didn't go Man United's way. And it's the same for England, you know. People hate England, so they'll talk about everything that, you know, went our way, which is like one thing against the 10 things that didn't go our way. It's like that. I think that's the situation, you know. It's just one of them. Like, supporting United, you hated, you know. They literally, there was this Man City fan. He's got Bernardo Silva as his profile picture, and he's come up on my Twitter, and he's not very intelligent. And he was saying, "Oh, of course, it's Man United players letting England down in the final." I'm like, "Fuck off!" Luke Shaw scored the fucking goal. You know, Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw were the best players, and you're trying to blame Sancho and Rashford the guts to take a penalty when fucking Sterling didn't. I just thought, honestly, that just some people, you know, it's just people will attack United. Varane to United will happen, says Nick Morris. I'm confident it will happen, but, you know, there's always a chance they'll stay at Real Madrid, which would be very, very disappointing. Why is there such a huge number of players on United's roles and new players are being linked to it? Can't some of them be sold? You know what? Talking of selling players, we do need to sell some players. I think Daniel James needs to go now. Sancho's coming in. There's rumours of him going to Brighton. I think Brandon Williams will go out on loan to Southampton. I think James Garner will be going out on loan. I think Diego Dalot will be sold. I think Andreas Pereira will be sold. But most importantly, Phil Jones better be fucking sold. There's talks about Lingard staying. It's looking more and more likely that Lingard will stay at Man United. And I think, why is Lingard staying to just sit on the bench? You can get 20 million for Lingard and invest that in a CDM. Why is Lingard staying to sit on the bench? He's not going to get any game time. He's just been brilliant at West Ham. His value's high because he's been brilliant at West Ham. I know he's got 1 year left, but you make a good point. It's like, we've got a lot of players being linked to us, but we need to get rid of Daniel James. As much as I love him, we need to get rid of Lingard as much as I love him. Pereira and Jones just have to go. Williams needs a loan. Garner needs a loan. You know, I'd cash in on one of the centre-backs as well. I think, you know, Mata really should have gone. He's got a new contract. Matic really should be going and being replaced with a fresh new CDM, but United can't let go. United just seem to not be able to let go of anyone, and it really frustrates me, you know, it really frustrates me in that. Rebuild FC says the 19-year-old who's never taken a penalty got the 5th pen in the cup final in England's most important game in the last 50 years. Top draw management. I agree, especially if Grealish wanted to take one. And you've got to remember that Sterling scored the winning penalty for Man City in the Carabao Cup a few years ago. Why isn't Sterling taking? Edward Wilson says, just found your channel, Alice. Outstanding work. We love to see Varane and a couple of midfielders come to United this year. Thank you very much for the support, Edward. And I want to see Varane and a couple of midfielders come to Manchester United too. I must be the only one who knew football wasn't coming home. I never thought it was coming home until we got to the final. You know, I think once we beat, I never believed it was coming home until we beat Germany, because I knew once we beat Germany, it was Ukraine-Denmark final. So I never thought it was going to come home until we beat Germany. But, like, I had a feeling that it wouldn't come home. Thing is, people don't realise it, but when British people actually sing it's coming home, half the time they don't actually think it's coming home. It's just, like, we sing it out of, like, passion, you know. Like, you know, people think that, like, we're arrogant and stuff. But, like, we didn't expect us to get to the final. We just, like, it's just the way we are. I think a lot of people don't realise that, like, we sing it's coming home. But when we sung it's coming home in the World Cup, we never really believed it was coming home. Thoughts on Nuno Tavares at Arsenal? Decent young player. Don't know much about him, but, you know, he should be fine at a mid-table club. Camavinga is like Kante and Pogba mix. I do agree with that, weirdly. Rumours about Hendo first goalkeeper. Alice, look, I don't think Dean Henderson's good enough to be first goalkeeper for Manchester United, but it is what it is. You know, I would rather sell Henderson than De Gea because Henderson's easier to sell, and I think De Gea is better. But at the end of the day, I think Dean Henderson's a great keeper. I think David De Gea is a great keeper. My preference is De Gea, but I don't really care who starts, if you want my honest opinion on that. There's going to be a £45 million bid for Varane. I did hear that from unreliable Spanish sources, but to be fair, I wouldn't surprise me if we made a £45 million bid for Varane, because that's 50 million euros, and I think we could get him for that. Any questions for me, please do pop them down below in the live chat. I'm going to try and read and reply to as many questions as possible. So Any questions for me, please do pop them below in live chat. I believe Sancho is undertaking his medical. I'm not sure if he'll go on holiday first or do his medical first, but I know FABRIZIO Romano said that Man United want to announce Sancho as soon as possible. They've got like a special announcement plan. They want to announce a new kit deal. So I honestly think it's going to be Sancho medical, Sancho announcement, then Sancho goes on holiday for a week. But poor little Jadon's only going to have like a week-long holiday and then it's pre-season. So I don't know if Jadon Sancho will be involved in the first few pre-season games, to be fair, and all of that. But yeah, medical's probably happening or going to happen. Maybe he's going on holiday first, but I got the impression that United would like to announce Sancho sooner rather than later so they can announce the new kits. I hope our centre-back will finish first leg as well. And Nick Morris says, from what's been said, Varane doesn't want to return to Spain and wants to go straight to United from training. That's what I've heard. Like, Varane isn't interested in doing pre-season at Real Madrid. He wants to get settled in at United. Like, that's what I've heard, which will be really, really interesting to see how that develops. And I think that's a good sign as well. This guy says, Ultra says, people slate Solskjaer, Southgate, Defo piss poor, Rassi, Sancho, Grealish, Foden not sniff, Sterling selfish and greedy, Kane not fit. I think there was times where Sterling was a bit greedy, but I'm not going to criticise any of the players. But I do think, I will blame Southgate for the management and making us defend from 2 minutes in, defending from 180 minutes to penalties, I have to say. But yeah, Southgate got what he wanted. What a madness of leaving Sancho and Rash out of all the matches and then giving them 2 minutes just so they could get humiliation. Yeah, I do think that was poor management from Gareth Southgate. We need Camavinga, Fernandes and Rice in our midfield if Pogba leaves. Yeah, to be fair, I somewhat agree with that. As long as Camavinga can offer something going forward. He's not the best in terms of forward contributions, but yeah. Hopefully we get both Camavinga and Varane minimum. It's important that we get them. For me, keep Pogba, get Camavinga and Varane, and I'd be very, very happy with that transfer window. That would be a very good transfer window for me. I think if you sell Paul Pogba, Camavinga isn't enough to replace him. Is Paul Pogba going PSG? I'm just going to take a quick drink of water, then I will answer that question. I'm 50-50 with Paul Pogba going PSG. I'm waiting to see what Romano says regarding Paul Pogba. I want Paul Pogba to stay, but they realise he might leave on a free. Pogba's open to joining PSG. PSG do want Paul Pogba, so I think Pogba to PSG really is a 50-50. Nick Morris says that Trippier to United is not happening. Atletico want 40 million euros. United will not pay it, which is facts. I don't think Trippier will happen unless they lower their price. Alice, who are the players United are most likely to sell this summer? Pereira, I think he's going. Deleu's likely to go. I think James could go. Maybe Deleuze, James, Pereira, hopefully Jones, I'd say. I'm not sure about Lingard anymore. But yeah. We can't have 2 first-team goalkeepers. Dale Hendo have to go. Yeah, I agree. Still 75% with Rafael Varane. Is Locatelli still being linked to Manchester United? No, he is not, because I think the Locatelli links was more because he was doing well in the Euros. And then when Verratti came back, Locatelli got benched, you got to remember, so he hasn't really been playing that much. And I think Locatelli was just a bit of PR spin, like, this player's playing well, let's link him to United for some social media clicks, or PR spin if you want my honest opinion. But I know Premier League clubs are interested in Locatelli, but I believe Arsenal are the Premier League club that would like Locatelli more than anyone, to be fair. Messi to City and Ronaldo back to United, imagine the derby. I mean, that would be scenes. I think the Premier League's the best league in the world, but I think that would make the Premier League just 10 times better. You okay? I'm a Man United fan and I love Rice for CDM. I'd like Rice for CDM, but we won't get Rice unless we get 50-60 million pounds for Paul Pogba. And then you've got to trust the board to invest that in Declan Rice. Mohammed says Camavinga won't sell at CDM just yet because he's elite at ball winning, keeps possession well, and progresses the ball between the lines. This doesn't usually pass sideways or recycle possession. Yeah, will Camavinga fit our system would be interesting to see. I do agree. People are asking me some questions down below. Any news on a DM is a question from Barmy. And the situation is, United do want Camavinga. And whether Pogba stays or goes, we will go for Edouard Camavinga. We're battling it out with PSG for Camavinga. It's a 50-50 between United and PSG. If Paul Pogba leaves, we'll be looking at CDM options, Declan Rice being our first choice. But a lot of us getting a DM depends on Paul Pogba and Donny van de Beek's future. Donny looks like he's staying. Pogba looks like he could be leaving. So if Paul Pogba leaves, we'll get a DM. If Paul Pogba stays, we'll be battling out with PSG for Camavinga. I believe that is sort of the situation. Thoughts on Martial? I love Martial. I think he's a great player, to be fair. I wouldn't sell him, and I think he's going to stay. I think he had a poor season, but I think Martial is good enough to play for Manchester United. I think Lindelof isn't good. I think Lindelof's good enough to get you top 4 but not win a Premier League. I think Fred are good enough to get you top 4 and not win a Premier League. But I think Martial, you could win a Premier League with Martial. I honestly do think you can. Unpopular opinion of mine, but the only if you look at our strongest starting 11, you just need a CDM instead of McFred and a player to play next to Maguire, and I think that could make us Premier League stuff. Shane says, "Hey Alice, what's the update on Varane and how reliable is Sky Sports these days reporting PSG in from 2? Romano said that the deal will be very hard to do." I think United are just saying that because they want to add something, that whole PSG thing. Look, I'd say with Varane news, listen to Spanish sources and listen to Fabrizio Romano because it doesn't have that United PR spin on. I think Sky Sports have got some credibility. And if Sky Sports says something, there's a lot of truth in it. But you've also got to remember that Sky Sports get information from United, so it's going to include any PR spin. So United will say, it's going to be difficult to get him because PSG are there, but United will tell them that. If you want my honest opinion, Sky Sports are reliable, but they're not Fabrizio Romano level. They're tier 2, they're not tier 1. Sky Sports will recycle news. It's Sky recycle news. For me, in terms of credibility and Varane, I would listen to Fabrizio Romano and some of the tier 1 Spanish sources rather than that lot. Any questions for me? Please do pop them down below. Varane 50 million, Camavinga 30 million, Sancho 73 million. That's the transfer window we want to see, and Pogba staying. Will we see it? Well, we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. But I think the Varane situation will massively, change and update soon. Did you think Sancho will shine at United? I think Sancho will shine at United because I think he suits the way you play. He's a skillful, quick right winger. He wants to come. If a player wants to come to your club, they're more likely to do well. I think one of the reasons Sanchez and Di Maria flopped and Falcao flopped is did they actually want to come to Man United or did they want the fat wages? And, I think Sancho generally wants to come to Man United. He wants to return to England. It's not all about wages. All Pogba wants is a huge pay. All Pogba wants is a huge pay rise at Manchester United. Says Showcat can, which to be fair, I think we could convince Pogba to stay if we offer him ridiculous wages. But if you offer Pogba ridiculous wages, it changes your whole wage structure as well. And other players are going to ask for more and all of that. But yeah. Do you want to sell Pogba now or let him leave on a free next season? I think, as much as I'd like to keep Pogba, I think, you almost have to sell him rather than lose him on a free because you get money in. But the question is, if you sell Pogba, does that go in the Glazers' pockets or does it get reinvested? And if we got 60 million for Paul Pogba this summer and we don't spend it on a DM, I would have been like, we might as well just sell him on a free because that 60 million could go in the Glazers' pockets and all of that. It's one of them. George Cabaret said Ancelotti will not be the deciding factor for Varane staying at Real Madrid. He wants out now. Yeah, I heard that. I think Real Madrid really does. I think Rafael Varane really does want to leave Real Madrid. I think he generally wants this United move and all of that. I'd love Neves over Camavinga. He's prem proven, only 35 million and would link well with Bruno, says Shane. And I think that's a solid point. And I think he would link well with Bruno. Hope Marcus does his operation and then rest and let Mason, Bruno, Cavani and Sancho start the attacking when he's resting. Yeah, I think the good thing about Jadon Sancho coming in is he can play as a left winger just as he can play as a right winger. He plays on both wings, and I think maybe Sancho played so much because when Martial got injured, it's Sancho, if not Dan James. And the drop-off from Sancho to Dan James is... the drop-off from Rashford to Dan James, is quite big. But the drop-off to Rashford to Sancho isn't very big. And I think maybe with Sancho coming in, we can actually give Rashford a little bit more rest to recover from that injury because I don't think he properly ever recovered from that injury because he was really good at the first 6 months of the season. Rashford was fantastic first 6 months of the season. He scored hat-trick versus Leipzig, looked fantastic. The last 6 months of the season, he was really, really poor. And, a lot of it's down to probably him carrying an injury. So, yeah, I do. Gaz Elliott says he's sick of Pogba. Look, I just want Pogba to sign a new contract or sell him. I don't like Mino Raiola. I'm not sick of Pogba. I'm sick of Mino Raiola and Pogba rumours. I was sick of Sancho rumours. We finally signed him. I'm no longer sick of Sancho rumours, if you get what I mean. Greenwood or Martial, Cavani is on number 9. I think you have to go with Cavani to start with, but I think Greenwood and Martial are just as capable. I do. City fan says, with Sancho, Varane and Camavinga plus Pogba staying, what will United finish the season? I think we could win. But I think you've got to remember City have Pep, Liverpool have Klopp. You've got to remember City could sign Grealish and Kane. So I'd say second just because we didn't win the Europa League final. I thought we'd win the Europa League final. But I think we're capable of coming first with that. But I would probably say second to be a safe bet. Rebuild FC says the Pogba transfer has been a disaster for both clubs and player. He's now going to leave on a free. I'm guessing, that is the situation. That I guess that kind of is a disaster. I don't want Paul Pogba to leave on a free, but that could easily be the case. If he does leave on a free, it's a disaster. But I think he's a world-class player. And to be fair, I just don't think United actually got the best out of Paul Pogba when you really think about it. I don't sit there and go, you know what, we got the best out of Paul Pogba because I really don't think we do. This guy says, just tuned in, Alice. What's the word on Varane? Is it happening anytime soon? The latest with Varane is Varane wants to leave Real Madrid. Personal terms won't be an issue. Man United are very, very close to agreeing personal terms with Varane. FABRIZIO Romano said, Varane wants to leave. United want Varane. We'll pay the wages. It's just United won't do anything until Varane give them a price. Varane won't give Man United a price until they know completely that Varane will leave. Real Madrid know Varane is going to leave, but they haven't spoken to Varane since before the Euro, so they want to hear from Varane himself if he's going to leave, not from his agent. So I think Real Madrid will sit down with Varane. He'll say, look, I want to leave. Real Madrid will let him go. They'll put a price tag on him. I think the situation with Varane is personal terms unofficially agreed. Personal terms isn't an issue. We don't need to worry about that. Personal terms could be done in the next few days, and then United will wait to see how much he's going to cost us. And that's when Real Madrid put a price on Varane. And Real Madrid can't outprice us on Varane because Real Madrid will have to sell Varane this summer, or they lose him on a free, and they won't want to lose him for a free. I think United will make a bid for Varane. But the situation is Varane wants us, we want Varane. Personal terms are not an issue. United are sitting here waiting to see what Real Madrid do with Varane. Like, are they waiting to see what Real Madrid's price for Varane is? And I think, Real Madrid are going to just wait till Varane's back from his holiday, put a price on him. I think we'll pay that price because realistically, they can't make us pay more than 50, 60 million pounds for a player that if we don't sign him this summer, he's going to go on a free. When there's no competition for him because we beat Real Madrid to it. Real Madrid got Ramos. So I think that is the situation with Varane. This guy says, Alice, Romano may be a reliable source, but I'm sure he said last season Man United would be signing a centre-back. 3 weeks later, signed Tellers. I don't remember that. I know he said that Man United were in for a centre-back, but I don't think he specifically said we'd sign a centre-back. I think he said we'd like to sign a centre-back, If you want my honest opinion. What's news about a backup right-back? What's the situation of a backup right-back? To be fair, I know we want a backup right-back, but the situation was it was Sancho, Trippier, Varane. Sancho, Trippier and Varane were our 3 first choices. And then with Trippier, they were saying 40 million. So Trippier is no longer like a priority at Manchester United. So I think the situation with us signing a right back is just about price. Do we get a midfielder who leaves? But we do want a backup right back, but it depends on Delo. It depends on the price. But I think Trippier is very, very unlikely in terms of backup right back. Ponapa, if that's how you say your name, is why has Van de Beek been played so little? It is like he doesn't fit Ollie's system, or Ollie just does not trust him because they failed to understand that Fred instead of one CDM. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Maybe Donny van de Beek wasn't an Ollie signing. Maybe Ollie sees Donny van de Beek as a Pogba replacement, and maybe Pogba's going to leave this summer. But we all know Donny should have played more. We all know that Grealish should have played more minutes than Mount. We all know that Grealish should have played more minutes than Saka. We all know that, yes, Sterling was brilliant, but if you're going off form, Grealish should have been playing over Sterling. Sometimes managers don't make the right choices, and we saw that with Southgate yesterday, and we've seen it with Ollie before. What about the new coaching staff? We signed the set-piece coach and one-on-one coach, and that from Chelsea, only 29 years of age. And, us signing a coach, I think is really, really big news and all that, because you've got to remember, we've obviously signed Eric Ramsey from Chelsea, a set-piece coach. You've got to remember that United's biggest struggle last season was no CDM, set pieces, and lack of pace at the back. If you design a coach for set pieces, hopefully we won't be doing that zonal marking, because I think only Leeds conceded more goals from set pieces than Manchester United last season. And for a team with Harry Maguire at the back, you don't expect us to be conceding that many goals from set pieces, and we did because of zonal marking. So I actually think having a set piece coach in could have more of an impact than people think. I think having a set piece coach in is like having a new signing. I think it's having a new signing because we were so poor at set pieces. If you watched us at the end of the season, I think we conceded like 4 set-piece goals in 3 games at the end of the season. So, we have signed a new set-piece coach, a 29-year-old who worked at Chelsea, one of the best in the game, Eric Ramsey, which will be really, really interesting to see. We need Varane to pattern Miguel. Who's Miguel? You mean Maguire? We need Varane to partner Maguire, if that's what you mean. And De Gea or Henderson, I say De Gea, but I have no issue with any of them. I think they're both good keepers, but I personally go with De Gea. So to sum up all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that's sort of come in the last 24 hours, it's been a lot of Varane update. It's been about Varane, personal terms being agreed. I think this is the week where the Varane news is really start to heat up because he comes back from his holiday. He comes back to Real Madrid training. He doesn't want to go back to Real Madrid training. And one thing we know about Varane, which I've mentioned in previous live streams, is Real Madrid won't offer Varane more than 8 million a year. We're offering Varane 12 million a year. That's 4 million difference. So, I think we can definitely win over Varane, and we know we'll pay the wages Varane wants. But the news and situation that's coming in the last 24 hours is obviously, Rafael Varane to Manchester United, deal closed, agreement closed, but United are waiting to see what price tag Real Madrid put on him and all of that. I think that is the situation with Varane to Man United. I think this is going to be a big week for Varane. I think this is when it heats up. News regarding Camavinga. Obviously, the Camavinga news has gone a bit quiet, but it is a 50-50 between Manchester United and PSG to get Camavinga. United almost want Camavinga more than PSG want Camavinga, so United are leading the race for Camavinga and the favourites to get Camavinga, but that's because PSG are very, very focused on getting Paul Pogba, who is a 50-50 to leave Man United for £50 million for PSG this summer. So Camavinga to United is a 50-50, and Paul Pogba to leave Man United is a 50-50. Varane to join Man United is a 75-25, more so likely. Daniel James to Brighton, rumours will be addressing that and stuff, and a couple players going out, but that's sort of the latest coming into Manchester United. And of course, to everyone watching, you've got to show your support to Sancho, Rashford and Saka, because, you know, there's some nasty people out there just sending them some horrible abuse, and no matter what happens, you know, they never deserve that abuse, especially the racist abuse. So I would say, you know, to everyone watching, you know, please just be supportive of Sancho, Saka and Rashford, because they didn't want to miss that penalty. You know, I probably would have missed the penalty if I took it. You know, you've got to think about the pressure to them. So, you know, I think most importantly, you know, England did lose. Very, very disappointing. You know, I was really hoping we'd win. And it was so upsetting for us to lose, because when Pickford saved that Jorginho penalty, I felt like we'd won. The screams on me when Pickford saved that Jorginho penalty, and what a save to Pickford. You had a really, really good game, to be fair, saving penalties. You know, I felt like we won, and it's very, very disappointing to lose, but we can't take it out on individuals. If you have to blame anyone, you blame the manager. But at the end of the day, we got to a final. Yes, we didn't win, and yes, the management in the final wasn't good, but we got to a fucking final, guys. We beat Germany. You know, we haven't been in a final in 50 years. Like, at least we got past the semi-final. I mean, that was the only positive. I mean, we should have beat Villarreal, but that was the only positive about Man United getting to the Europa League finals. At least we didn't lose the semi-final. But in a more serious note, like, we did get to the final. So yeah, that's sort of to sum up all the news in today's video. But please do hit that like button, and of course subscribe down below and all of that. Any questions for me, of course, pop them in the live chat. If I wasn't able to answer any questions in today's video, please just subscribe down below and comment any questions I didn't answer in today's video in tomorrow's video, because I'm going to be live again at 7:45 p.m. tomorrow night. So 7:45 p.m. tomorrow night I will be live. So if I didn't answer any live chats in this video, just comment them in tomorrow's video, and I'll try and answer anything I didn't answer in today's video in tomorrow's video and all of that. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Please hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks if we want to stay up to date with daily Manchester United content. I do daily Manchester United transfer news updates and all of that. So if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news coming in each day, please do subscribe. Pre-season previews, pre-season match reactions, watch-alongs, please do subscribe for all of that. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm going to end the live stream now, but I'll be live tomorrow at 7:45. See you then.